Hello and welcome to our championship edition of Pro Baseball World Tour here on RGC Multimedia. My name is Rick Crabb, and joining me from his other palatial estate, his spring training facility, if you will, Mr. Eric Marenbach. Eric, how's the weather down there in Florida, bud?
It's actually pretty nice. It's been like 70s and 80s during the day, 60s at night.
Okay.
I haven't been able to enjoy it that much, A, because there's not really that much to do, B, there's rampant COVID, so naturally you first come down here and the first thing you do is take a COVID test.
Oh, wow.
Which I am pretty pleased to report that I am negative.
There we go.
So
all right.
I can do things within reason, but then again, there's nothing to do yet, so I'm just enjoying the sun, or whatever I can get.
Yeah, well, I know this is a pro baseball show, but I heard the Baltimore Ravens are looking for a few players. How good are you at catching a football, Eric? Maybe I might need your help against Pittsburgh this week.
I'm more or less a free safety.
Okay, well, we've had a few good ones. We might need them against Roethlisberger or against Juju Schuster or any of those guys. But Pittsburgh's got a good team this year, much to my chagrin, but I digress. Let's get back to the pro baseball talk. We definitely have some, as I mentioned, championships to talk about. We have a new Korean Series champion. We also have a new Japan Series champion. We will talk a little bit about some articles from the KBO as far as some free agency signings. And also we discussed from one of our Facebook groups some links to some of the international leagues you and I have been talking about. And I want to discuss some of them with you because I know you've probably watched more of them than anyone, and I want to get your opinion on some of them, which of them you recommend, which of them you don't. But let's start things off. We're going to the bedrock suburb of Durham, North Carolina, or it could be the bedrock suburb of Changwon, I'm not sure.
Uh-oh, it's Dino. Sound asleep. Got a break. Maybe I can sneak by him without going through his wild welcome home the master bit.
Well, the Doosan Bears tried to sneak on the Dinos, but...
I was prepared for this. Here, Dino. Fetch the ball. That Dino is enough to make a guy want to go right back to work.
And if you're the Doosan Bears, go right back to next season and find out how you can win a Korean Series, because we have a brand new Korean Series champion. And Doosan basically got to defend their title, but they didn't have enough offense to match with the Dinos pitching. So congratulations to the NC Dinos, or Dinos as Mr. Flintstone would call them. Dinos, potato, tomato. They're your Korean Series champions, folks. Congratulations.
I love it. And it's funny because two of those guys could have been playing that last game in Korea when they get posted. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with free agency between the KBO and MLB, and in between the KBO and the teams within their league.
Right. Well, yeah, we do have a few free agency stories to talk about within the KBO, but I want to mention first how the NC Dinos celebrated their their Korean Series championship. A lot of folks may or may not know the company that is the corporate sponsor for the Dinos are a software company. They're responsible for a lot of video games and other software, that kind of thing. Well, this story coming from James Dollar from SB Nation said this Korean World Series trophy is a giant sword from a video game. The KBO League World Series was settled overnight, and with the glorious and triumphant NC Dinos taking home the top prize. Part of which just so happens to be a giant sword that looks like it was stolen from Hades himself. And there's a little link to a little tweet about that. Under that, the big sword is amazing in its own right, but it's even better than you might initially think. Not only does the sword commemorate the Dinos winning the Korean Series, but it was crafted by the team's owners, video game company NC Soft. It's a real-life replica of the fabled +9 execution sword from the game Lineage, considered the most valuable in sports. And, the most valuable item in the game. The Twitter feed just popped in front of it. It was like a little video of, looks like the dinos are gathering around the pitcher's mound about to receive the sword. I'm sorry, folks. I could have said that much better, but I don't know. What can I say? The sword, considered the holy grail of Lineage players, is so valuable a similar model was almost sold for $270,000 in 2015. Now, the NC Dinos are the only team in the world with an actual version of one of the most valuable video game items of all time. It should be noted that the sword is not the official World Series trophy. The actual one is far more bland and normal. Still, though, kudos to the team's owner for being like, we're giving this team a giant sword too, because the NC Dinos deserve it. So there you have it, the NC Dinos, heroes to a lot of baseball fans, especially in Changwon, throughout Korea, and also to video game nerds as well. So that's awesome. Go for the Dinos once again.
I'm very happy that I'm not into those simulation video games because there's a lot of kids that I know that do the Fortnite thing.
Right.
The last thing I need is to all of a sudden get hooked on Lineage and be staying up 24/7.
Yeah. Of course, if somebody brought over like CPBL the show, you would be all about that, though. I'm sure. So
Oh, trust me, I tried to download a game, which is only on the phone. I don't think it's on the desktop. The only problem is the instructions are all in Chinese.
Oh, okay.
You have a similar game, and all the instructions are in Korean. So
I think I saw ads for that on Twitch. I wanted to get that. That looked awesome, though.
The graphics look absolutely awesome. But as far as setting up a game, you'll need a translator.
Right. They also had on some of the broadcasts, too. I'm not a big basketball fan, but they had this basketball game where the graphics basically, it looked like you were playing a basketball anime. It looked really cool, though. It looked like they were in like some high school gym, but they had like these tall players with like the anime lines behind them when they're slamming the dunk. Kind of like the old, if you remember an old video game called Double Dribble, it was something like that, but it looked a lot more like Adult Swim anime. It looked really cool, but...
Right. As a matter of fact, when the NC Dinos game came out, one of my friends actually worked in the software company. And she had told me that the game was only available in Taiwan, but she more or less jailbroke a version, since she was working within a company, to get me to download it onto my phone.
Oh, nice.
Unfortunately, like I said, everything was in Chinese, and I couldn't get a handle on it. So, it's on my phone. It looks nice. It's taking up a little space, and I still haven't figured out how to use it yet.
Yeah. That's how it was years ago. There was a store that sold different video games, and somehow this guy got a hold of Nintendo and Sega Genesis games that were supposed to be only sold in Japan. Well, like the Super Nintendo, Super Nintendos in Japan have a special adapter. For some reason, their cartridges are smaller than the ones for the Super Nintendo here, even though the machines are made in the same country. I don't get it. But anyway, it's like in order to play any of those games here, you would have to buy an adapter. So I bought this wrestling video game, and it's All Japan Pro Wrestling, and I got it because they had like a few American wrestlers I was familiar with. And same thing. Instructions were all in Japanese. On screen was all in Japanese. I had to keep button mashing until I learned how to do the moves and, did all right with it. But oddly enough...
The cheat codes were in Japanese, too.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Oddly enough, how that started, though, it was... You would think it was because, Americans want to play Japanese games. It was the exact opposite. The Japanese, for some reason, did not have a version of Mortal Kombat for their systems. So they actually made an adapter to play the Mortal Kombat games that are available in this country over there for some reason. So it was kind of like reversed. So it's like they made the adapter to play games that are sold here, and then wound up being Americans who were buying like all these, weird these fighting games and wrestling games and all kinds of stuff only available in Japan. And it came over here, though. But a little, I don't know. Sorry about the sidetracking, folks. I mean, but hey, you know, we have a team winning a trophy from a video game. How often does that happen? I mean, come on.
Besides, we need filler.
Oh, yeah, this is true. This is always true for this show, especially cover my flub-ups. That's for darn sure, but, you know. All right, well, we have some other news going on in the KBO as well. We have we had a little bit of free agency, possibly some MLB teams expressing some interest because of the KBO. Korean star shortstop Ha-Sung Kim posted for MLB teams. Here's everything you need to know. This is from Mike Exiza from CBS. The MLB offseason has moved at a snail's pace these last few weeks. But things may soon heat up. The T1 Heroes of the Korea Baseball Organization posted star shortstop Ha-Sung Kim for MLB teams this past Wednesday, adding another talented player to the free agent pool. Kim's 30-day negotiating window closes at 5 p.m. Eastern on December 25th. Merry bleeping Christmas, as Dennis Lear would say. Since there are quite a number of veterans trying out for the MLB in 2019, I meant to say I could go if I play well in 2020, Kim told So-Young Park and Yu Rim-Kang of Korea Jungyang Daily last December. But it seems like my decision has already been finalized, so I feel a little overwhelmed. I'm not there yet. Some of the fans doubted me by saying, "Can Kim Ha-Sung do it?" Kim turned 25 in October, and he has been arguably the best player in the KBO the last 4 seasons. He authored a 306, 397, 523 batting line with a career high of 30 home runs in 138 games in 2020. Kim also went 23 for 25 stealing bases. Here are his last 4 seasons. And he gave the stats, and it's like, I'm just going to give the home run numbers and the, looks like, I'll give the batting average and the home run numbers because he's got a bunch of stats we don't have time to go for. 2017, he had a batting average of 302, on base of 376, and 23 homers. 2018, 576 at-bats, 288 batting average, 358 on base, 20 homers. 2019, 625 at-bats, average 307, on base 389, 19 homers. And then last year, get this, 622 at-bats, 306 average, 397 batting average, and 30 taters. So, good for Mr. Kim. Kim's production was about 40% better than the average KBO hitter of the last 2 seasons. The pitching in Korea is inferior to the pitching in MLB, and for what it's worth, the ZiPS projection system pegs Kim's 2020 season as equivalent to a 274, 345, 478 batting line in the big leagues. Braves shortstop Dansby Swanson hit 274, 345, 464 in 2020 for reference. The free agent class is deep in middle infielders. Our R.J. Anderson ranks 5 middle infielders among his top free agents, but none are as young as Kim, who still has many prime years remaining and may not yet be at his peak. His age makes him very attractive. Here's everything you need to know about the newest free agent on the market. How good is he exactly? Quite good, obviously, though there will be questions about Kim's ability to handle MLB caliber pitching, MLB caliber velocity in particular, until he shows he can do it. Back in May, Baseball America wrote Kim will likely face an adjustment period at the plate when he first arrives in the U.S., but he has the athleticism and twitch to adjust and eventually hit major league velocity. Here are a little more of their scouting report. He's a good athlete with good instincts at shortstop and has the average arm strength to stay on the left side of the infield. He projects to be an above-average hitter and has enough power to hit 12 to 15 home runs per year in the majors. He is a plus runner who adds value on the bases as well. Baseball America adds Kim will be considered a top 100 prospect as soon as he signs. Though it's important to note there is quite a bit of variance even within top 100 prospect lists. A top 10 prospect is much more valuable than a prospect in the 80 to 100 range, for example. That said, Kim is clearly talented and he's produced at the highest level available to him. Here's some video. They show a YouTube clip. It's a slow motion bat flip, basically. So for what it's worth, Zips projects Kim at roughly 273, 44, 490 with 23 homers and 15 steals annually over the next 5 seasons. With average defense at shortstop, they're pretty darn close to a 4 WAR player. Projections are not predictions. They are an attempt to estimate a player's true talent level. And at least one projection system is really high on Kim. Zips sees an impact player. Young-Ho Kang, the only notable Korean middle infielder to jump in the MLB, has immediate success hitting 273, 355, 483 with 36 home runs and 229 games with the Pirates from 2015 to 16 before legal issues effectively ended his career. Other star KBO hitters to jump include MLB Hyun-Soo Kim, there we go, some success, Dae-Ho Lee, minimal success, and Byung-Ho Park, a total bust. Wow. A little harsh there, CBS. What the hell? Byung-Ho told me that not many players can actually do it. Kim told Korea Yongyang Daily last December. He encouraged me by telling me that I should give it a try if I can get that chance. That helped me gain confidence. Even if it's not an easy path, I'm the one going down that path, so I'm going to care less about any criticism and go my own way. How does the posting process work? MLB and the KBO modified the posting schedule this offseason to account for delays related to the COVID-19 pandemic. For Kim, the modifications don't mean anything. He was... Where were we? Okay. MLB and the KBO modified the posting schedule this offseason to account for delays related to the COVID-19 pandemic. For Kim, the modifications don't mean anything. He was posted well before the December 14th deadline and now has until December 25th to sign with an MLB team. The entire process, agreement, physical, signing, etc., must be complete by Christmas Day. Under the old posting system, teams would submit blind bids and the high bidder won the players' negotiation rights. That changed a few years ago. The players are now free to negotiate with any and all MLB teams and pick their destination. The team that signs the player then pays his former team a release fee. Here is the release fee structure. $25 million contract or less, 20% of contract guarantee. Contract larger than $25 million, be $5 million plus 17.5% of amount over $25 million. The posting fee is not included in the contract. It's a separate expense. So, for example, if Kim signs a $30 million contract, he gets the $30 million and his former team, the Kiwoom Heroes, gets a $5.875 million release fee. $5 million plus $875,000, that is 17.5% of the $5 million over $25 million threshold. His new MLB team is on the hook for $35.875 million total. Oof. Players posted from Korea or Japan will typically visit the United States. Let me start again. Players from Korea or Japan will typically visit the United States and meet with teams face-to-face and listen to their sales pitch before making their decision. Kim's process figures to be quite different because of the ongoing pandemic, however. He may be limited to virtual meetings or perhaps have to whittle his list down early in the process to limit in-person meetings. What could his contract look like? A just-turned 25-year-old shortstop who projects to roughly 4 WAR annually over the next half-decade is easily worth $100 million. Kim won't get $100 million, though. Not with teams cutting costs amid the pandemic, and not with the uncertainty surrounding his move to the MLB. The risk will be baked into the contract. Kim will get something much less than $100 million. The largest contract an MLB team has ever given a KBO player is the 6-year, $36 million deal the Dodgers gave Hyun-Jin Ryu in December 2012. It's not close either. The second largest is the 4 years and $12 million the Twins gave Park in December 2015. The Pirates gave Kang 4 years and $11 million in January 2015. Last off-season, the Cardinals gave Kwang Hyun Kim 2 years and $11 million. Kim's age and skill set make him a unique free agent, and even with payrolls set to come down, he's poised to set a new contract record for a KBO player. The 6-year contract in the $7 million to $10 million range annually is not unrealistic. 2 Japanese players signed contracts last offseason that may be more relevant to Kim than anything signed by a KBO player. They are outfielder Shogo Akiyama from the Reds, 3 years and $21 million, and outfielder Yoshitomo Tsutsugo from the Tampa Bay Rays, 2 years and $12 million. Both were several years older than Kim when they signed. Akiyama was 32, Tsutsugo was 28. Japanese players have a better track record in MLB than KBO players, though that's selection bias more than anything given how few KBO hitters have made the leap. And Kim's age makes him very desirable. 6 years and at least $7 million annually is the bet here. Which teams could be interested? MLB teams, of course, scout Korea, some more than others, so Kim is a known entity. The pandemic made scouting a challenge this year, but teams know who he is and have evaluated him to some degree. No MLB club had to hit up Google to begin research when Kim was officially posted. It's fairly early in the game, but already there have been rumors connecting teams to Kim. The Rangers have an interest in him, reports MLB.com's T.R. Sullivan. MLB.com's John Morosi says the Blue Jays have closely evaluated him. And the Athletics' C. Rosecrans reports Red Scouts have seen Kim as well. Surely more rumors are coming. Given his age, Kim will appeal to all teams. Contenders will see a player who can help them win now, and rebuilders will see a player who is young enough to be part of their new core. You don't have to try hard to see all 30 Major League Baseball teams as a potential suitor, really. These 9 teams stand out as possible landing spots for Kim. To be clear, this is my speculation. The Angels. Andrelton Simmons is a free agent, and the Halos are desperate to win right now. They could try to sell Kim on a great supporting cast of Ohtani, Anthony Rendon, Mike Trout, etc., and a beautiful locale. The Athletics. Marcus Semien is a free agent, and the middle infield in general is unsettled. The A's have made surprising splashes on the international free agent market in the past, most notably with Jonas Cespedes. The Blue Jays. Bo Bichette is penciled in at shortstop. There have been rumblings about moving him to third base to clear a spot for a star shortstop. Francisco Lindor mostly. What about Kim instead? The Cubs. Payroll is coming down, that much is clear, but it's not often you can add a 25-year-old infielder with high-end tools for nothing but cash. Kim could be part of the next contending Cubs team. The Phillies. Didi Gregorius is a free agent, and Jean Segura and Scott Kingery's versatility allow Philadelphia to easily open an infield spot for Kim while keeping everyone in the lineup. That might be a nice road trip if he goes over there. I might go check some of their games out. The Rangers. The Elvis Andrus Ronald Odor double play combination is an expensive disaster. Minus 1.4 WAR in 2020 owed a combined $56 million from 2021 to 2022. And Kim would be a building block for the future. The Reds. Shortstop position is wide open. Nick Senzel is versatile enough to play just about anywhere, and the Reds have spent aggressively in free agency the last 2 off-seasons, including internationally with Akiyama. The Tigers. Will Castro fits better defensively at second base than shortstop, so there's an opening for Kim. Detroit has a ton of young pitching and now needs to fill up the lineup to complete the rebuild. Let's see who else under the Tigers. Okay. I wouldn't rule out the Nationals if their reported pursuits of Chris Bryant and DJ LeMahieu fall short. The Red Sox, second base is wide open. Or the Yankees, if LeMahieu leaves either. I wouldn't rule out any team, really. Talented 25-year-olds are hard to acquire, so when one hits the market, teams will do what they can to make it work. If nothing else, all 30 teams will do their due diligence. And that was from CBS Sports HQ. Well, all I'm going to say is, I don't know. Most of the article was interesting. It's still dripped with a lot of snark that we see, like a lot of American baseball writers have, especially with biases, against the Asian leagues, that kind of thing. But I don't know. What do you think of the comments as far as places that Kim could show up if he came to the United States, Eric?
I remember when the idea was first brought up that it was rumored that the Mets were looking at him, which didn't make any sense to me, given the fact that they had Andres Jimenez as their up-and-comer. The only thing now that makes it interesting is with Cano's PED suspension.
Mm.
So that might open up a hole for them unless they figure out where to put Jeff McNeil. Here's the problem that I see. You said earlier on that infielders have had problems with adapting. Okay, I will not only assess that with guys like Tom with the Pirates. I mean, okay, he had legal issues with DUI and stuff like that. But if you remember a few years ago, the Rays drafted a guy who actually is back now with the Samsung Lions, Haku Lee.
Hmm.
And he was rated a super high prospect in the KBO. Basically came to the minors with Tampa. And, okay, well, not sugar-coated, stunk up the joint.
Right.
To the point where he had to basically come back and resurrect his career back with Samsung again. You mentioned with Park how that was a bust, where he was supposed to be the savior power hitter and stuff like that. He had so much problems trying to adapt to America. I think, if anything, your pitchers are going to get more of a look-see coming over here. Guys like Sungwon Oh, who unfortunately is back with Samsung, but you have guys like Kim who did really, really well with St. Louis, and hopefully they'll look to extend him. I don't know. It just seems to me like the infielders, they'll come highly touted. They may get posted. They may get signed. But it's just not the luster. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, some of the teams he mentioned are interesting. I mean, the ones that sound like might be a better fit might be like the Reds and the Tigers, according to this reporter. But, I mean, I don't know. I think there are a lot of, I agree that there are a lot of teams that would probably want to take a chance on him because he's young and they could probably get him cheap for the first few years. But, you know, in baseball terms anyway. But, yeah, I mean, sounds like he has some tools. I mean, I don't know. It sounds like he could be valuable with a glove, and with his speed, he could probably be a good leadoff hitter, too. I mean, you know, or maybe like a end of lineup hitter, you know, just so the leadoff hitter can get him in or whatever. But I don't know, the speed seems like it'll be an asset for him, I think, for sure.
So if you can have him on the Reds, let's say, and tables to bear along with Shogo, that could be an interesting combo. I mean, I have a feeling that he wouldn't be a fit with a team like the Rays. Tetsugo is having not so good of a year. You know, he was highly touted out of Japan and was barely used in the postseason. So, I don't know. Different players react different ways, but you never know.
And for my own personal reasons, the Phillies and Nationals would be interesting, just so I would be close enough to see them live. But, you know, and for you,
Anyway.
What's that?
It's a close enough road trip anyway.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Just means I have to get more KBS stuff.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Which
Yeah,
is turning to, again, with the Dinos, who's basically got the world at its oyster, especially with his agent, Scott Morton. Wouldn't surprise me if Boris flew him out to California now, just to get him acclimated. Who knows when they're going to post him? Who knows who's going to take a look at him and actually sign him? Be interesting where he goes, especially with Boris being his agent. I don't know who Kim's agent is.
Right.
I don't think it's anybody as affluent as Boris.
Yeah, and the CBS reporter just pointed that out too, as far as because of the COVID. I mean, face-to-face meetings might be limited, and so teams might be like want to be a little more aggressive in trying to sign him, I guess, for that reason. But good for him. I hope, I'll watch him if he's, I'll still watch him if he's on the KBO, but I would like to see him in our, ballparks in this country, too, so.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
You've also got a couple of other interesting moves from the KBO. First of all, Hanwha actually hired a new manager.
Right.
In the presence of former Brewers head coach Carlos Sudero, who actually was the manager of Team Venezuela in the Premier 12 in 2019. So I know him really well from when I saw him in Taiwan during that first round. What I had actually brought up in the My KBO group was if once free agency started, if they would go after guys like Dixon Machado and other Venezuelans. What Hanwha actually did, which kind of surprised me, was they went after Nick King, pitchers-wise, and they also went after Ryan Carpenter, who used to pitch for the Mackinnon Monkeys. I thought Carpenter was actually doing pretty well with the Monkeys there, and I didn't think he'd switch countries, but apparently Hanwha wants to be aggressive.
Right.
As far as their pitchers go, I don't know if the change of scenery for Kingham from SKO to Hanwha is going to do any good.
No, but you can't blame Hanwha, because, Hanwha needs all the help they can get. Yeah, exactly. It's like, you look at teams in any sport, you think, okay, what are their needs? Hanwha, it's like, where do I begin? Pitching certainly couldn't hurt for them. That's for sure. So, it could be a good building block for them, too. And, I don't know, maybe he can mentor other players, especially American ones that come, or other foreign players that could help, too. So, I don't know, hopefully sounds like maybe a good move for Hanwha. Can't wait to see if it does turn out to be that way. So,
I thought they were going after Dixon Machado, but nothing's been reported for that yet.
Right.
Also, what else did I see? I saw Keelan actually got rid of Addison Russell.
Hey, I saw that too. Yeah, that was a shocker, but
no, Russell did not perform well. He comes over with all the fanfare, trying to shake off all his problems that he had here with the domestic abuse. And,
him, yeah. I was being,
and turned out to be absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Which, unfortunately for him, what are you going to do?
Right.
I also noticed LG parted ways with Tyler Wilson.
Oh my gosh, really? Okay, that.
They're going to have to fill the void there.
Oh man, well I still got Hunsu Kim over there, so if he leaves, I might switch over to another team. Maybe the Dinos cheerleaders can convince me. I don't know, but we'll see. But
I just want to see in general what happens with the big three as far as the pitchers go. As far as Dan Straley, as far as Raul Alcantara, and also a guy that he missed half the season was pretty perfect with the Dinos in Chunglo.
Yeah, they were fun to see. Now, have you heard anything recently about Aaron Brooks? I thought I saw something like a couple weeks ago about him, but I could be mistaken.
He was re-signed by Kia. I had not heard anything about Gagnon. Brooks did post on his Instagram that they did re-sign him, so good for him. Which, brings to mind, I hope that Kia does return so we can act a little bit, because he was kind of a fun guy with Gagnon and the rest of the coaching staff. Matt Williams is being retained. That whole coaching staff is intact so far, so hope for the best over there.
Yeah, I hope so too. Maybe I can go with you this year in that program you gave me last year. I'll get some of them to sign for it this year, or get a new one from there, but that'd be cool.
Yeah, I'll hopefully bring over some stuff if they're able to come in.
Okay. All right, well, we'll keep an eye on that. Also, I thought I saw from the KBO, it looks like our friend Mel Rojas Jr., to no surprise to anyone following KBO, won the league's MVP. So, good for him. I mean, I really couldn't see too many people really challenging him. Maybe challenge him in some categories, like for homers with Rojas or batting average with Hyun-Soo Kim. But, I mean, other than that, though, I mean, he had all the tools. It seemed like he had it almost wire to wire throughout the year, Eric. But
yeah, had Hernandez not gotten there, he probably could have given Rojas a good run. But injuries were a part of the game.
right. Yeah, he was a fun player to watch, though, Eric. I mean, yeah, so I hope, even if he stays in the KBO, I would like him to give the Wiz another try. But it sounds like, I don't know, he might be looking for a payday somewhere else, though. But he deserves it if he does get one. But, you know.
I wouldn't mind it myself. I was actually kind of happy that he did resurrect his career over in Korea, so maybe he'll try to give it a shot back in the States. I'm sure teams are interested in him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think it might have been from CBS. They said, like, a few teams were chasing after him, too, like they are with Kim, but, you know, we shall see.
It all depends on who needs help at a certain time.
Right.
You know, sometimes positions and contracts fall into your lap because of an injury, a suspension.
Mm-hmm. And this may sound rather morbid to say because of the pandemic and everything that's going on with it. I think a lot of these foreign players that have gone to KBO, this has almost been, I don't want to say a godsend. I would say it's been a fortunate break for them to some regards, as far as they probably had more eyes for them because of the expanded coverage of their games, you know, through ESPN. Because, I mean, we spoke about this on another episode, Eric. I mean, ESPN, a lot of people think it's just the U.S. I mean, they're on, like, I think they said, like, 20 different countries or whatever, and in different languages, too. So, I mean, I know Mexico KBO broadcasts were pretty popular a lot because of Roberto Ramos, but other countries, you know, got into them, too. And I'm sure a lot of scouts, I mean, were able to, it's a little easier to click on a remote and, you know, watch ESPN instead of flying, you know, 16 hours, you know, from one side of the world to the other to see a game. Of course, with the pandemic, they might prevent that anyhow, but still a lot, the KBO, I think, got a lot of good exposure. I'm glad they did. I mean, they made a fan out of me, and I'm sure a lot of other people as well, so good for them, and good luck to those players. Hopefully you'll get paid, and if not, you'll have fans watching in KBO. So either way, you win.
I second the motion.
Okay. All right, Eric. Well, listen. Do you have anything else about the KBO before we take a break and move our world tour?
Gee, let me think. Let me see if I've got any other news here that I haven't mentioned anything. Let's see. All that basically gave was the rankings between different free agents, how that works, yada yada yada. No, I think we pretty much covered it.
Okay, very good. All right, folks. Then we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to move our world tour to Japan and talk about our other champion that was crowned this past week. You're listening to Pro Baseball World Tour on RGC Multimedia. We'll be right back. Alright, folks, welcome back to the Pro Baseball World Tour. Rick Crabb, Eric Marenbach. And as promised, we moved our world tour over to Japan, where, just as the KBO crowned their champion, the NPB crowned their champion as well. The Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks swept the Yomiuri Giants in the 2020 Japan Series to become your new NPB Japan Series champions. And kind of similar to Doosan, the Hawks have built like a recent dynasty over the years, Eric, although Doosan would rather, in their case, they've won a few titles, but they've also just knocked on the door and had the door slammed on them as the Dinos did this year. The Hawks, it seems like they've been dominant, and the poor Yomiuri Giants seems like, it's like, God, we got to face these guys again. Or they may be spurred on by revenge to let's beat them this year, and, well, didn't quite work out for them as they got swept in 4 games. So, congratulations to the Hawks. What's your take on the Japan Series, Eric?
You're going to find this really funny, but you got the Japan Series where everybody comes to see all the Japanese stars. Who excelled in that series from the SoftBank Hawks? The Cuban ball players. Gracial, Despain, Moinello, they all had terrific series in the postseason. So it kind of overshadowed their own countrymen. It was just really strange to watch. You also had one game where Moore, former major leaguer, took a no-hitter into the 7th and wound up with a victory in that one. So they just completely mowed down the Giants, who even with all their history, it's always cool when the Pacific League conquers the Central. It's kind of like the David beating Goliath kind of thing.
Right. Because, and especially since how structured the Central is, where it's like, they're very somewhat old-fashioned in their marketing of their teams and their television deals and that kind of thing, where it seems like the Pacific, they want to open up to international markets and gain more exposure. And I would imagine, too, Eric, they would probably play more more of an exciting game, I would imagine. Or I should say a less traditional game than, the teams in the Central do, but as you mentioned, especially with Yomiuri with the history behind them, but...
And if I'm not mistaken, because of COVID this year, there was no interleague, or very limited, as opposed to in past years. So you pretty much had the 6 teams in the Pacific League playing each other, and the 6 teams in the Central League playing each other. If there was interleague between the 2 leagues, it was very limited compared to the best.
Right.
So that could have been part of your postseason structure right there.
Mm-hmm. And it's somewhat similar to MLB. MLB did have some interleague, but they just stayed basically geographically. It was all the...
Regionals.
Right, all the regionals, the AL East and NL East, and all that, or East. And you had the Central divisions and the Western divisions playing each other, and, so... It kind of almost made like a good bubble for baseball, but, it's... So, but...
Don't forget, though, in Japan, you pretty much kept to your 140-some-odd game schedule, whereas we shortened it in MLB to 60.
Yeah, true that. And, and I was going to mention this later on when we spoke about the ABL, but I saw this one story on the news earlier today, Eric. They were talking about how their country is handling the COVID situation. Eric, they have only 8 documented cases throughout Australia as of this recording. I was blown away from that. And they were showing some footage of a beach somewhere in Australia that was crowded. It looked like Ocean City or Coney Island. It was ridiculously crowded. But they said they're not having any issues. Hopefully that doesn't change for them. Especially with baseball starting up next month or later this month, I should say. But
That think it's going to change. You know, until the vaccine comes out, I've said it before, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, even with the new president coming in. This country handled the whole virus situation wrong. Anywhere from the lies to the treatments to everything else. It was just a total botch job.
Yeah.
And instead of listening to the science, they let, you know, just somebody ramble and pose conspiracy theories. But in other countries, like Taiwan, like Japan, like Korea, it was a monumental difference. And it's all according to how you handle it. You stay honest with the people in your country. You tell them what's going on. The people are not stupid. They know what to do. You know, you're only as good as the people that lead.
Well, I mean, the people in other countries aren't stupid. Some of the people here, I don't know. I shake my head at some of them, quite frankly. And not just politically, but I mean just general selfishness of like, well, that mask isn't going to protect me, you know.
It's a snowball domino effect down, and it's a shame that it had to happen this way. But with new administration here and new restrictions or more handling with the virus situation, hopefully it'll be really regulated better than we have in the past. And it can get to a situation like in Japan, Korea, Taiwan, etc., where you can have not necessarily full capacity stadium. You can limit it like they did in the playoffs to 15,000 or so. Season ticket base. There are going to be fans that are going to be shut out, but if you can't be a little bit passionate and understand the whole situation until the vaccine gets readily available to basically everybody and everybody smartened up, okay? You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Taiwan did their thing. Korea did their thing. Japan did their thing. Australia's going to do their thing. Hopefully we can get back to not necessarily normalcy, but the new normal. Right.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It seems like the biggest obstacle is getting through the holidays, Thanksgiving, and with Christmas coming up. I mean, there's fear that you may see an even bigger surge, mainly because of people traveling to, you know, the Thanksgiving family gatherings, all that kind of thing. But,
Right. I mean, you know, I drove down to Florida, but I was not necessarily cocky, but I didn't stay in dive hotels. I stayed in major chains.
Mm-hmm.
Made sure to do the necessary things to keep the room clean, sanitary, yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
Got down here, tested. I'm okay. You're okay. Yada yada.
Oh, good.
Life goes on.
Here we go. And it's like I said before, Eric, it's like baseball. We want to get as many people home as safe as possible. So there we go. So.
Right. So even in the Caribbean leagues, which we'll cover in the next segment, there's no fans in any of the stadiums except for a few in the Mexican areas that are in the lighter color zones. But they're few and far between. They're very spread out. And it's all because of the zone regulations. People understand.
Right.
That's what you have to do. You have to get people to understand and comply. Right. And it's these rebels that are only going to make things worse.
True. Yep. And as soon as we can get, I don't know, the rebellion under control, the sooner you and I can go to these countries and buy some CPBO and KBO and NPB merch, you know. Yeah, there's probably about 300 bobbleheads that waiting for you, Eric, but we got to get our country to get their shit together so we can go over there. So,
Hey, that's what Cyber Monday's for, dude.
There you go. Hey.
I mean, today I placed orders actually with the Binghamton Rumble Pony and the Stockton Ports for a whole bunch of stuff that they had left over.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I forgot to tell you, I saw another ABL team that has another bobblehead. I'll talk to you about that off the air, but anyway, alright, but yeah. Now, if I'm starting to sound like Gian, be talking about our memorabilia collections, okay. Do you have anything else to comment about our friends in Japan, Eric, or?
It's still, no, happy for the SoftBank Hawks, happy for my Cuban people, happy for Matt Moore. Hopefully, either they stay in Japan or they get a look at some MLB teams if the conditions present itself.
Yeah.
But congratulations again, and you guys did a hell of a job.
Awesome.
I'll probably try to talk to Alfredo later on.
Okay. All right, there you go. You get him to talk to us. Maybe in the future, hopefully. That would be cool.
No, he don't speak English.
No. Okay. Well, you can translate,
Last time I saw him actually was in Miami a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay. No kidding. Okay. All right, very good. All right, well, while Eric is carousing throughout South Florida trying to get us some guests for the future show, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the winter leagues in Central and South America, as well as down under, mate, in Australia. You're listening to Pro Baseball World Tour here on RGC Multimedia. We'll be right back. Social media. Alright, folks, welcome back to Pro Baseball World Tour. Rick Crabb, Eric Barron back. And as promised, we're going to move our world tour back and forth through several countries, a few continents here and there. We're going to start with Central and South America. And Eric, I know you've been monitoring the Dominican leagues for a little while. I think Colombia started their season this past weekend, did they not?
Colombia started, I believe, on Saturday. Venezuela started actually yesterday, which is funny because you start the league on a Sunday and then immediately Monday take a day off.
Well, I don't know. That's not. I mean, MLB kind of does that, like with their opening days, because they usually leave that day off open in case, I don't know, the original date gets rained down or whatever. I don't know. It seems like they always did that, like with the opening days I remember here. Probably a lot of teams do that, though, to be honest. But
yeah, but in the Caribbean leagues, you're not playing 3 game series. You're playing a different team every day. So the travel is definitely different, but you're playing every day. And as a matter of fact, when the Dominicans started a couple of weeks ago, traditionally they have an off day on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
They've been playing basically every day, rotating the teams around. Everybody will get an off day, occasionally. But for the most part, it's a 7-day week.
Okay. All right. Well, we were also talking before in a few episodes, and on air and off air, about where you can watch different baseball games. One of our groups, I think it was in the Baseball Pacifica group, sent a link from an article called Words Above Replacement, and they gave links to several, basically they called it a baseball streaming guide, and they gave a few links to different leagues and that sort of thing, and I saw you had a discussion saying, okay, this one works, this one doesn't work. I'm going to go through a few of these real quick, as far as one that they call Australasia, which is, I guess, all the different teams. They have like a Asia Winter Baseball League season. It looks like you can subscribe to that on CPBL TV for $5 a year, it looks like. And they also have 2 Twitch channels. Then we have our friends in the ABL, and it's ABL TV, and that's free live and archive games. And it looks like a lot of the individual teams in that league have free games as well, free streaming. The Adelaide Giants, for example, the Brisbane Bandits, the Canberra Cavalry. In fact, that's where I saw the bobblehead I was going to talk to you about, Eric. It's on their website. GKTV, the Geelong Korea team, even though they won't be playing this year, they normally have free games, so maybe next year they'll be able to do that. They have a company called Sports Flick for $10 a month, live and archived games. And then there's something called the Baseball Challenge League. And it's a short season league in Japan. It's on something called the Player app, which is for free. The Central League looks like they have something from Torritelli at $7 a month. And then our friends, the CPBL, of course, you mentioned about that. And then it's the mainstream CPBL, we mentioned earlier about one of the minor leagues that they have for $35 a year. You can see our friends in the CPBL, the 14 mosh pit that is that league. Then they have, looks like some of the teams have individual sites such as the Brother Elephants. They have something called Brothers Camera Bay. And it's live streams of every Brothers game, including playoffs in the Taiwan series. And it's a mobile app. They also have a Twitch channel there, too. That's one thing I love about Twitch. They have really opened things up as far as international sports. Good for them. The Brother Elephants also have a Yahoo channel. They have a Twitter channel called 11 Sports. And it's live streams of Rakuten and the Uni Lions. In English, in fact. So, I don't know if you want to see any of those. And see, Fuban has a Twitter and Yahoo free streaming on those. We'll go on the Eastern League, another league in Japan. They got a lot of... I didn't realize Japan had so many leagues. My goodness. They have the Pacific League TV for $15 a month. They have a minor league game there. So there's a lot of different things. Well, I'll post a link to this on the YouTube. But Eric, you've frequented some of these links. Tell me which ones that you would recommend and which ones you would not recommend, as far just through your experience.
Okay. I know the exact link that you were talking about. I looked through most of them, and a lot of them are outdated.
Oh, really?
And I actually was talking to the guy that posted the link on it. He insists that a lot of them are valid. There's no way. Even as far as you look down for the Venezuelan League,
mm-hmm.
As far as I know, right now they're looking for some sort of a streaming source because their app that they were using is no longer on iOS devices. It's only good on Android. And if that, I don't think that any of their games are configured yet. One of the teams in the Venezuelan League has a YouTube channel that has been posting their live games, the Lara Cardinals.
Okay.
But for the most part, Venezuela, it's early. They just started, so they're probably getting their you-know-what together.
Okay, well, hopefully they are. Yeah, I'm scrolling down.
The Dominican feeds, if you are fortunate enough to subscribe to your Spanish cable channels, there's two networks that will broadcast a game a day. Televisión Dominicana, and there's also one called, it's something with Telecaribe International.
Okay.
So those two, no, Telemicro, I'm sorry, that will broadcast one of the three games per night. So that's very beneficial. Although, if you want to pay and get high def service, there's a service called RD Sports, where this year, and I don't know if the lower price is because of the lesser amount of games, but it's only $20. and you're good until the Caribbean Series.
Oh, nice.
And you're getting all 3 games. Now, a funny part, if you ever watch a Dominican game, they will always do, like, in-batter commercials. The Dominican channels, for some idiotic reason, depending on the broadcast crew that's actually doing the game, one of the in-game promos is for a female contraceptive pill.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, and you're hearing this multiple times in an at-bat between pitches. You know, they'll go through the same PSAs multiple times during an at-bat or multiple times during an inning. And you get the female contraceptive ones, you know, if you know the language, and it just, like, it boggles the mind. It really does. I can remember during the Superstorm Sandy back a few years ago, and I actually stayed with a friend of mine who I had worked with, who the family is Hispanic descent. So they were getting the Spanish channels on their Spanish optimal system. So I had them turn on the game. And the wife is sitting there watching the game with me, and every time the PSA would come on about the female contraceptive pill, she'd look at me like, why are they openly saying this during a baseball game? So we can't get it. They either do bank PSAs or female contraceptives.
Yeah.
Occasionally they'll PSA their local rums or some sort of an energy drink or something. But
yeah, maybe get a deodorant to sponsor the foul balls or something. I don't know, but
that's possible.
Yeah. So,
but that's your streaming service in the Dominican. Mexico has the same thing. We had talked about it once before. This year it got a little more expensive because they switched servers. I don't know if they're going to, carry it over to the fall, to the summer rather, with the regular Mexican League and just combine it. I don't know. But again, high def, the problem streaming it through your devices on your TV. Then you're getting your other leagues that are popping up. Your Columbia leagues are supposed to be on Game Time, which I haven't even found that yet.
right.
Panama's been broadcasting through Game Time Sports. Nicaragua, same thing. Cuba has been doing their thing through Game Time and different YouTube channels. So there's never too much. If you really want a ball game and there's something scheduled, you don't have to look too far.
No, that's one thing I have learned. If I learned anything else doing this show with you, Eric, is that it's baseball year-round. It kind of reminds me of when I did the mixed martial arts show with a local fighter friend of mine, and I learned about all these independent mixed martial arts promotions going on, where it's not just UFC having a card once a month. They would have something every week, sometimes have twice a week, or, a lot of different cards and all, and got to interview a lot of fighters as a result from it, and some of them, it was kind of cool. We got to interview them in the minors before they went up to UFC, so that's always a good thing, But,
I get a kick out of listening to the broadcast in their native language. Some people will say to me, because they don't understand the language, why would I keep the sound up? It's because of the atmosphere. It's all part of the game. I mean, during the, summer with the Asian games, I keep the sound on I can't understand a word of Chinese, Japanese, or Korean. But the game is the same. You're more or less trying to soak up the atmosphere of the crowd noise.
That's one thing that surprised me with the Korean broadcast on Twitch. How many English baseball terms that they actually used. I mean, yeah, you would hear your Sanjin every now and then, but it would be weird. I think I even joked with you or somebody had one announcer. I called him the Korean Bela Lugosi because he sounded like Dracula calling it 1 ball, 1 strike. You know, it's what he kind of sounded like to me. You know, it's kind of weird, but I noticed, like, I've listened to this. I've heard it in baseball recently. I've also heard it in other sports. I heard this when I was in Mexico when they had I went with my parents a long time ago when Mexico hosted the World Cup, and we were in a shopping mall, and Team Mexico was playing, and it's like every store either had a TV or a radio on with the game, and you could tell, even though I couldn't understand a word of Spanish, it used the same formula as sports here, where you could tell who the announcer play-by-play was because he sounded like he had a polished voice, and then you can tell who the color commentator was, former player or whatever. He had kind of a not-so broadcast professional voice, you know? So, I mean, it's the same kind of formula there. It's kind of interesting, and I agree. The atmosphere and the enthusiasm, way they call it, especially if it's not necessarily like a national broadcast, if it's like the local teams, like, I don't know, if we could somehow get a hold of, like, say, I don't know, NC Dinos or Hanwha Eagles local radio team or whatever. That would probably be interesting to hear or see, like, one of their broadcasts like that.
Well, that's why I liked, you know, even during the Korean series, one of the games you had former MLB pitcher Jung Kyung Bong as a commentator for the KBS channel that actually did the game. He knows his stuff. He knows his stuff. Guys like Channel Park, they know their stuff because they've been through this before. They've been through the ringer. So
right.
Even if I can't understand them, you know, at least they know what they're talking about in their native song.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Bong even said to me when I saw him in November in Taiwan, he goes, "Wait a minute, you watch KBO in our language?" I said, "Yeah, I do it all the time. I didn't even know that you were broadcasting." But, you know, he just seemed amazed that I actually wanted to at least, if not fully translate and understand it, but at least wanted to listen to guys do their shtick.
Well, I mean, I remember you telling me, too, that's how you ingratiated yourself with a lot of the Taiwan fans in CPBL, where you would go to their Twitch channels and you would comment in English, and you were like a celebrity over there because of it, because, you know, they were amazed. Why is an English-speaking American watching our stuff? But, you know.
Right. I mean, even in the KBO, okay, with Daniel Kim's live YouTube show that he does every day, I'll get onto his channel and, you know, I'll chat in amongst, you know, all the Korean people. You know, I'll get very few responses out of a lot of the Korean chatters that are on there. Mm-hmm. But Daniel, whenever he sees me ask something in English, he's always stopping whatever he's doing more or less to either answer my question or comment on the situation, you know.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Daniel's definitely a good ambassador for the game, not just for Korea and baseball, but just in general. I mean, he seems like a genuinely good guy. I mean, so.
I actually wish we could have gotten him onto one of the shows. Who knows? I might actually try and finagle somebody. I mean, throw him a bone, or maybe we can do some sort of a thing like ESPN did and kind of cut him in on it.
Yeah, well,
with, any of these broadcasts in the near future. Who knows?
Yeah. You never know. I mean, we're beginning December now. A month from now, a lot of people be making New Year's resolutions. Maybe that's one for us. Try to get some get some, big time baseball people on our show. So
That'd be kind of cool.
yeah, that would be fun. That would be a lot of fun, especially Kim. My God, that would be that to me. That would be getting like, I don't know, Al Michaels or somebody. That's crazy. That would just be absolutely insane. I would love that, but
if you start screaming, do you believe in miracle believing though?
yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe you might just start screaming, "Go Mets!" But in that case, we'll be like, "All right, Daniel, thanks for coming." No, I'm just kidding. But
Nah, he's a good dude.
Yeah.
I'm actually hoping that he could come out, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was actually in St. Lucie last year. We didn't actually hook up at a game, but I think this year I'll try a little harder if he does decide to come over.
oh, definitely. All right. Well, in other news, Eric. Before we do that, do you have anything else going on in Central South America? Because I have a story from Down Under I'm going to talk about for a little bit. But.
I tell you, the Dominican leagues are having a lot of MLB guys come over.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the Toros del Este, which in English is the Eastern Bulls of the Dominican League. And you've got a lot of Yankees that are in there.
No kidding.
As a matter of fact, Domingo Germán pitched yesterday. Gave up 4 runs, but I think he struck out 7 or 8 guys. You got Miguel Andujar that's been playing on that team. Gary Sanchez is actually supposed to report next week. The rosters change week by week. It's on a provisional type basis. And players come in, players go out. It's kind of like these taxi squads or whatever it is. Different players will come down. A lot of locals, but star locals, and not your average schmoes. And it's just to get reps in.
Oh, okay.
You actually had a situation yesterday where there was a guy who came in for the Escogido Lions, and this is the funniest baseball name that I've ever heard. The guy's name was Henry.
Okay.
And he comes into the game. I don't even think I've seen him pitch in a game, but when the Spanish announcer said, "And now entering the game, Henry," I was like, "What?" It's like calling a guy Madonna or something.
All right. Sounds like a break into an Abbott and Costello bit. What's his first name? Henry. What's his last name? Henry. It's like, who's on first? No. Yeah, that's right. Who is on first? No. What? No. What's on second? Yeah, you can go back and forth.
Oh, it was perfect, and he actually did well. The funny thing is, we have a guy at Yankee Stadium who he's got to be autistic in some way. If not playing with a fullback, whatever it is. And his name is Henry. And, we always tease him in good fun. As a matter of fact, we call him sometimes just to bust his shots a little David Ortiz.
Oh, jeez.
And he's like, I'm not David Ortiz. But, he's got a very photogenic memory where, he'll, know the schedule for the year in his head.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of like a Rain Man kind of thing.
That's what I was thinking, yeah. Huh.
And, just to bust his chops a little bit, we'd call him David Ortiz. So, just to spark something in him. So,
well, yeah, I mean, for most Yankee fans, comparing him to a Red Sox player, those are fighting words, especially to him, but...
So could you imagine if in this year free agency the Yankees took a shot and he made the ball club for the long man reliever, and the guy's name was Henry.
Oh, jeez, it was.
And the guy Henry would actually see him drive in, because that's another thing. We would stand by the players' garage, where the team would drive into, and he more or less memorizes, like, either cars or license plates.
Oh,
you know, again, part of the autism or eidetic memory or whatever it is.
Right.
So could you imagine Henry driving in and be like, hey, Henry, that's me. What? Oh.
Henry. Yes, okay, yeah, that's me. Hello. Yeah.
Henry.
I wonder if he can get a candy bar endorsement. You already have like O Henry, so I don't know. If they can have like an O Henry candy bar, I don't know. That'd be kind of cool. But I'd buy a few of those. Yeah, definitely.
Well, unless you have another allergy, you just have a look. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, no doubt. All right. Well, moving on. We're gonna move down to the continent of Australia and the ABL, and we have some more television broadcast news going on. According to this headline, actually from the ABL's website, it says Foxtel and KO on board for ABL and the Women's Showcase. The 2021 Australian Baseball League season will be broadcast on Foxtel and streamed on KO Sports across Australia in a huge win for fans. KO, Australia's multi-sport streaming service, will now show 48 regular season games plus the playoffs, while Foxtel's Fox Sports channels will cover a special selection of key games. Under the extended partnership, Foxtel and KO will show all games of the 2021's Women's Showcase, which was announced last week. It will be the third season KO has increased its commitment to the ABL. KO has been a significant supporter of the ABL and more widely baseball in Australia since launching, said Baseball Australia Chief Executive Cam Vale. We're thrilled to continue our partnership and put the ABL front and center of KO's audience yet again. But equally as exciting is our return to Foxtel and the fact our historic Women's Showcase will be broadcast live on Fox Sports, reaching Australia's largest audience of sports fans. 2 of the Women's Showcase games will be played at West Beach in Adelaide on January 17th. The location and dates of the remaining games of the showcase, which is a key step toward the Professional Women's League in Australia, will be announced shortly. The partnership of the Foxtel Group is backed by the federal government's support to underrepresented sports like baseball that have often lacked broader mainstream free-to-air TV support. Quote, "It is important to thank and acknowledge federal government communications minister Paul Fletcher and support provided through his department to baseball," Vale said. The support has multiple benefits on top of having the ABL and the Women's Showcase broadcast across Australia. Their assistance has... Hold on a second. The ABL website scrolled a little bit on me. Okay, here we go. Their assistance has made it possible for us to inspire female baseballers to a new pathway, allow for partnerships like we announced last week with the South Australian government, and showcase the ABL to the U.S. and Asia. The new broadcast arrangements will see the ABL beamed into more Australian homes than ever before. The Foxtel Group and baseball in Australia have enjoyed a strong relationship over recent years. Since KO launched in 2018, it has broadcast the ABL, Rural Team Australia's Premier 12 campaign, and KBO Challenge games, as well as the 2019 Australian Little League Championship Finals. Foxtel's Fox Sports channels have also showed the Premier 12 and KBO Challenge games. Fans who want to catch all the ABL action should head to www.kosports.com.au for more information. Fox Sports cover games will be added to the full ABL broadcast guide at a later date. Alright, so looks like there will be more TV coverage, various TV coverage in Australia. I saw on the link too, I think some of their games will have some free streams over YouTube. So people in our country and in other countries outside of Australia can probably watch some of them. I also saw another story, Eric. I can't find a link to it, but basically what it was, 2 of the teams, they'll be having bubbles in the second half of the season. I think Adelaide was one of the cities, and I think where the Cavalry played, let's see, they were...
In Canberra.
Canberra, yeah, I think they were the other city. I think 2 teams they'll be hubs for not only the ABL, but also they'll be hosting some of the women's games as well too. So, so they're going to be experimenting with the bubble system in a little bit. So,
it's very possible only because of the time difference. Because because, and I never realized how big Australia actually was.
Right.
But there are so many different time zones within the ABL. And that's why the game times can vary so drastically.
Right.
I mean, a lot of the times I'll be able to wake up at 7 a.m. and still catch a good part of the Perth game.
Okay.
Live on YouTube instead of going like video on demand. Whereas you go to like try to watch a Sydney game and you'd have to do it on demand because the time difference is just so drastic that their games will actually start at 2, 3 in the morning.
Right, yeah, I actually went to Google this, but I'm glad you mentioned as far as like different time zones in Australia, because I'll have to look that up for other games, because I actually looked up to see what the time difference was between our coast and Sydney, and I was told it's a 16-hour difference. And there was one game I was thinking of watching either on the 30th or the 31st, where most of the games it was kind of like, when you go to the website, it's interesting. You go to the ABL website, they actually customize it for your time. So, I mean, when it says like 3 o'clock for a game, it's 3 o'clock East Coast time, because then when you click on the link, it has like a little, kind of like a little box score preview for each game. It'll give the Australian time, and it'll be, like 16 or 14 hours, depending where they're playing. But
or they'll do like the GMT plus 9 or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Which meantime.
So.
But all in all, you get to watch any game you want, when you want. If it's live, so be it. But if it's on demand, it's all good. It's still the same game.
Right, yeah, definitely.
I am just kind of hoping that with the new expanded TV rights, that it kind of gets like MLB and NFL here, where you have the on-field female reporters, and I'm actually hoping that they're kind of good looking. I mean, for the most part, there's eye candy, I'm sure you know, in MLB and NFL with those on-field people.
Oh, yeah.
I do remember ABL broadcasts, I believe it was for Brisbane, and there was this girl was the on-field reporter, but they never showed her. And her voice sounded so definitely hot. I mean, with the accent and the tone, and so on. So one of their pitchers, who is an American, comes over and plays for the Somerset Patriots, which, by the way, is now a Yankee AA Club, formerly in the Atlantic League. And I go over to Rick and they said, "Hey, Rick, you gotta answer a question for me." He goes, "What?" I go, "You know that chick Shannon that used to do your Brisbane games? Is she as hot as she sounds?" He starts laughing. He goes, "Hell no, dude." I'm like, "Oh, good. I'm glad they didn't show her."
Oh, jeez, it was.
So, voices can be deceiving.
Yeah, and that's kind of surprising.
I'd love to see that happen in the ABL with this new setup. Okay, see what happens.
Right. Yeah, that would be interesting. We'd like to see that as well, but...
I know in, like, the Mexican and the Dominican leagues, a lot of them are very attractive for being Latino women, which there's a history of being attractive anyway, but
right.
just to see them, on the field doing a thing, like the Mexican Aaron Andrews.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, I've even seen the Twitch broadcast of the KBO. Some of their... I've seen some... Not necessarily the sole broadcast, but the other station, the NBC. They had some... And some rather fetching Korean ladies as well. So yeah. So I think basically network sports, that's a universal thing, Eric, where it's basically you still have the glass ceiling where it's like almost any guy, if they have knowledge, can get a job, but in order for a woman to do it, you have to be basically in your 20s and attractive, otherwise chances aren't very good of you getting a job in sports, but,
In the words of Jerry Seinfeld, not that there's anything wrong with that.
No. Well, I don't know. Maybe some of our female viewers may feel differently, but we'll know. Well, we gotta get some female viewers, I guess, first. I don't know. But I'm sure we have some. I'm just kidding, folks. I'm just kidding. Come on now. Alright. Well, they don't have to know that. I'm just kidding. But moving on. Alright, Eric. Well, listen, do you have anything else regarding any of the leagues, any of the Central American leagues, our friends in Australia, anywhere else in the world?
Absolutely not. We will march on as the games go on this week and just have more to comment on.
All right, very good. Well, with Japan and Korea wrapping up their championship series, we're going to be more hot stove. We're going to definitely talk more about our Central American leagues and any hot stove, any free agency moves with Japan, Korea, MLB, anywhere else, everywhere else. Just tune in here every week, folks. You know that. So, all right. Well, listen. Thank you once again for listening, and once again, congratulations to the NC Dinos and the Hawks and the NPB for winning their respective championships. We're getting ready for new seasons to start, and look forward to crowning new champions in those leagues as well. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
공룡 뚜루루뚜루